And when Putin came to power, he could not look at the US in very friendly terms, frankly, because this had been stupid behavior by the United States over this period. Thoughtless, cynical, not designed to solve problems. Not as bad as 1919, but nothing like the enlightened approach that could have cemented a solid relationship. It was a way to create doubt, a way to create animosity, a way to say the US is in charge and we don't care. And I think this is incredibly short-sighted. And this is, I observe this front and center. Here, to some extent, although I couldn't put the pieces together very well, as I said, I just thought it was stupid politics, but it was geopolitics. And in Russia, it was really geopolitics. And in a way, we're living on that legacy. I don't want to absolve the Russian government of what I regard as absolutely unlawful actions in recent months. But the prelude to it was that we lost an opportunity historically that would have made a very big difference by having a magnanimity in 1989, 1991. There was no magnanimity at all. There was just short-sightedness. I can't even tell you, by the way. I mean, I can tell you, but I don't have time to tell you. I went to the IMF and said completely sensible things, knowledgeable things, experienced things, things that have been proven in Poland 2 years earlier. And the deputy managing director just looked at me and said, no. And I said, why? No. Why? Well, you know why he was saying no. He was saying no because the US government told him to say no. Why wasn't he explaining it? Because he couldn't explain it. Because he was just a pawn of the US government at the time. His assignment was to say no. Okay, this is not how we solve world problems. So that's a backdrop to the feelings of recreating divides. And it surprised me that Europe too, Europe made it, maybe for technocratic reasons to some extent, this enormous hurdle to get into the European Union. And that created the divide. You're in, you're on this side, you're on the other side. Russia, of course, no way. We'll talk to you, but the real members are here. And when NATO followed EU membership, it just absolutely just shifted the barrier. This was not thinking. This really was not thinking, and it especially did not create the conditions for a different kind of approach that really could have been the more unified world that we need. Because not only as an economist would I say that these boundaries are dumb, but I would say they're dangerous. They're dangerous in exactly the way we see them, as we see them becoming dangerous right now. When you have sharp boundaries, then the whole question is, which side are you on? Can Ukraine be pried out of Russia's hands into Europe's hands? This is an absurd question. Look at a map. Ukraine can't be pried anywhere. Ukraine is where it is. And it happens to be next to Russia on one side and next to Europe on another side. It's not a matter of prying it out. And look at where Russia is. Russia is the main part of Russia's population is in Europe. And the main part of Russia's economy, other than some of the oil and gas reserves, are in Europe. And by the way, Russia cannot succeed economically without good relations with Europe. When I went to Moscow in January and participated in a very good forum with senior government officials, I felt the situation economically was pretty good, actually, and that the economy was being pretty well managed. But I thought that what was missing was stronger connections between Russian industry and especially German industry to modernize Russian industry in aeronautics, in automobiles, in information technology, because Russia is operating on 1.5 engines right now. One is, of course, the petroeconomy, and the half engine is manufacturing, which isn't quite internationally competitive, but could be. But for that, it needs strong technological connections with Germany above all, with Europe more generally, and with the world, not to be closed. So I left Moscow just before the Olympics feeling pretty good. Just one more step, and we're going to have a way finally to get the economy properly set. Well, you may say that's just my naivete, and there is naivete in it because I'm always hoping for the better. I'm not making forecasts, I'm trying to aim for the better outcome. And then everything was downhill from then on. And I do believe that both sides of this, though I hate to think of them as sides, but of course it's both sides, have responsibility for what's happened. Europe and the United States acted provocatively, I do believe, and pushed in certain ways. So did Russia. I do believe that Russia has international legal responsibilities to the territorial integrity of Ukraine, which it has violated, and which I think is a very serious violation. There's quite a solemn commitment made in 1994, in addition to the normal international law, which says that in return of the nuclear weapons from Ukraine, Russia commits to guaranteeing the territorial integrity of Ukraine. And this is fundamental. How are we ever going to get nuclear weapons under control, as Nina said, if we don't honor such commitments in such contexts? So I'm not happy with what's happened. I understand it. But I'm not at all happy or relieved by these tensions. I find them extremely serious and very dangerous, actually. The truth is that none of the big powers right now is respecting international law.